Reading by Miss Leanne Fox. The Collapse of Parenting.
How we hurt our kids when we treat them like grown-ups. Let's start off with the first thing, teach humility. When I meet with parents, I sometimes ask, in regard to their children, what is most important to you? What are you trying to help your children to become? Parents often answer, I want my kids to be happy, to be fulfilled, to be kind. That's great, I say. But when I ask, how are you going to help your child get from here to there? What will it take for your child to reach that goal? To grow up to be a kind person, an honest person? Many parents aren't sure how to respond. Particularly in the United States, parents are likely to confuse fulfillment with success. The assumption seems to be that if the child goes to a good college and gets a good job, then personal fulfillment is assured. When I point to the evidence that professional achievement is no guarantee of personal fulfillment or life satisfaction, many parents don't know what to say. What do you need to teach your child? My answer, the first job of the American parent has to be to teach humility. Why humility? Because humility has become the most un-American of virtues. And partly for that reason, humility today is the most essential virtue for any kid growing up in the United States. Because so many American parents have confused virtue with success. The only real sin for many middle-income and affluent parents today is failure. Teaching humility and trying to practice what you preach is the most useful corrective. Most American parents are fine with the idea of teaching openness, agreeableness, and so forth. But humility? They don't know where to start, or how, or why. Some parents no longer even understand what the word humility means. Those parents think that humility means trying to convince yourself that you're stupid when you know that you're smart. That's not humility. That's psychosis. A detachment from reality. The fact that psychosis might be pursued with good intentions does not make it any less psychotic. No. Humility simply means being as interested in other people as you are in yourself. It means that when you meet new people, you try to learn something about them before going off on a spiel about how incredible your current project is. Humility means really listening when someone else is talking, instead of just preparing your own speechlet in your head before you've really heard what the other person is saying. Amen? Humility means making a sustained effort to get other people to share their views before trying to inundate them with yours. Inundate them with yours. The opposite of humility is inflated self-esteem. I recently visited an elementary school where the third grade students were required to write 5 words to describe how amazing they were. Each student then attached the words to a big cutout of his or her own name. Everything was taped up on the wall for all to see. I took a photograph of one boy's poster. He chose these words to describe himself. Marvelous, awesome, talented, excellent, a genius. I don't mean to pick on this boy. After all, he was just doing the assignment the teacher had given him. I share this story to illustrate how little awareness there is in some schools of the way in which a puffed up ego at age 8 or 14 can lead to resentment at age 20 or 25. Right? I recently took another photo at an American public school of a flowery poster with the words, "Dream until your dreams come true." That's bad advice. That advice cultivates a self-righteous sense of entitlement. Better advice might be, work until your dreams come true. Hello? That might not sound as good, but it would be one notch closer to reality. A truer statement, possibly suitable for framing, would be, work in pursuit of your dreams, but realize that life is what happens while you're making other plans. Tomorrow may never come, or may be unrecognizably different. I debated this point recently with Charlene, an American high school student. Charlene hopes and expects to be a famous novelist someday. She's a teenager who has experienced the usual slings and arrows of adolescence and has used those experiences as grist for her fiction. Her teachers have praised her writing. She has sent manuscripts to agents but has received only rejection notices. Charlene has very high self-esteem. I don't think that's such a good thing. Her high self-esteem at age 15 is setting her up for disappointment and resentment at age 25. I have witnessed this trajectory many times. Soaring self-esteem in childhood and adolescence, carefully nurtured by parents and teachers, predictably leads to a crash after college, typically about 3 to 5 years after graduation, when it slowly dawns on the young child, the same adult who had been so talented as an adolescent, that she's actually not as talented as she thought. She discovers that just because she was repeatedly told that she is amazing does not mean that she is, in reality, amazing. Put bluntly, the culture of self-esteem leads to a culture of resentment. If I am so wonderful, but my talents are not recognized, and I'm still nobody at age 25 or 33, working in a cubicle, definitely not, or not working at all, then I may feel envious and resentful of those who are more successful than me. How come that other young writer got her novel published and she was on the Today Show and I can't even get an agent? One parent recently said to me, "Kids need self-esteem. I want my daughter to have the courage to apply for that big job, her dream job, and that requires self-esteem." Not quite, I answered. Taking appropriate risk requires courage, first and foremost. Again, many parents confuse self-esteem with courage, just as some parents tend to confuse humility with timidity and cowardice. To be courageous means that you recognize the risks and your own limitations, but you find the resolve to move forward anyhow. The young person with bloated self-esteem, unaware of her own deficiencies, is likely to do well in the job interview. But the young person who is genuinely interested in what the recruiter has to say is more likely to get the job. The right kind of humility helps you to recognize your own shortcomings, to be better prepared, to understand the risks, and to take those risks courageously when necessary. The antidote to the culture of bloated self-esteem is the culture of humility. If I am in the culture of humility, then I rejoice at the success of others, and I am happy with my portion. The culture of humility leads to gratitude, appreciation, and contentment. The key to lasting happiness is contentment. This conclusion is now grounded in some compelling research. Investigators have recently found that if an individual has a grateful attitude towards life, that individual is more likely to be satisfied with life, more contented, and happier. Again, this is not exactly a new insight. Traditionally, American parents taught this truth to their children with sayings such as, "Count your blessings," and "Be grateful for what you have." It's less common to hear American parents say such things today, except as consolation after their child isn't picked to star in the school play or when their teen gets the thin envelope from Stanford. The sequence of events matters here. Many of us regard gratitude as a result. Santa Claus brings the child an unexpected, wonderful present, and the child is grateful to Santa Claus. But researchers are discovering that a grateful attitude is a cause of happiness, psychological well-being, and a sense of personal mastery. Gratitude and humility. These are key virtues that American kids today are unlikely to possess after years of indoctrination in their own awesomeness. These are the virtues you want to teach your children or teens before disappointment comes. I understand that this may rub some of you the wrong way. I went through an Ayn Rand phase myself as a teenager. Ayn Rand won fame for her novels, The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, which featured strong, unabashedly selfish protagonists who pursue their own self-interest relentlessly and without apology. When I looked at those novels again as an adult, I noticed that none of the major protagonists is a parent. Rand herself never raised a child. Such a phase can be a normal part of adolescence, part and parcel of the relentless egocentrism of the child. But if you mature into adulthood, and certainly when you become a parent, you realize that the world is, and should be, bigger than you.